It's the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light. Tonight, little flock, I want to talk to you about why Yahusha had to reveal the Father to the world. Because as we know, he said that's what he came to do, to reveal the Father. And those of the Spirit who are born again cry, Abba, Father. You notice that's what's written? That it's about a father being separated from his children. And when you look in the world that you live in, you often see that calamity. And many of you have grown up in that calamity yourself. A fatherless environment. And the effects of growing up in that environment are deeper than what most people know. Look at the state of the world. I often ask this question. Would you say that the world is in a good case? Is it going the right direction? Or would you say that it's going the wrong direction and that it's in a bad case? What's your opinion of that? Well, there's a reason for it. Because there are only two worlds that are available for you to live in, for you to have been born in, you see. And it's either God, Christ, man, woman, and you being born into it would be the child. That's what you would be born into. God, Christ, man, woman, or Satan, Antichrist, woman, man. So if the world is not going in a good case, like the question I asked earlier, then what world do you think it is that you were born into? That would be a fallen world. A world that's fallen, a world that's upside down, flipped, like I've often said to you guys. Don't you see it? And if you're in that world that's Satan, Antichrist, woman, man, then can't you understand why the Father has not been revealed to you? Why you can't see the Father? The hierarchy is the Father is at the very bottom. So when you're looking for power or strength, don't you see? You don't recognize that position being held by a father in your life. And the only visible one that you can see is your mother. And so we see through the entire scripture at the very end, he tells his children, come out of her. You notice he didn't say him. And don't you know Abba don't make no mistakes? So he said what he meant to say, right? But he says, come out of her. So then compare the two worlds I just described to you. See how it's going, child? For you as the child growing up in the world, doesn't matter what your age is. Just consider what world you grew up in, what world that you're living in. Now this father's love, it's unfamiliar to the child. The child can't recognize it. It must be revealed. And the father's love is revealed through your sibling who knows your father, who was raised with your father. You see it? He's going to tell you the true characteristics of your father because you've been lied to your whole life. If your mother's led by Satan, then that means that she's led by a liar. So then you've been lied to your whole life. If you're in that world that you say is upside down backwards, you said it was. Now, if you say the world is fine the way that it is, then you're not part of this conversation. But if you say the world is screwed up, then you might just want to keep listening to what the grandson's saying to you today. Why the Father's love would seem so foreign to you. One of the characteristics of the Father's love that may be strange to you is the fact that he loves you in a way where he tells you the right thing without considering how you feel about it. That's unfamiliar to a child who's been brought up in a feminine, led by Satan world. In other words, feelings world. See, I often told you guys this mystery about Esau being rough to the touch, but Jacob being a smooth man, the Bible says. Now, do you understand why I'm saying that? Feelings, see, the carnal. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the one that follows it. Do you see how the Bible's telling you this? There's two worlds. And that first world, Esau, is feely, hairy, so that it's easy to be felt. That's why Isaac touched Esau, or touched Jacob, thinking he was Esau. But he touched him. That's the point, little flock. He touched him so that he could feel him, to see if it was indeed Esau. So there was a distinction in touching. What do you use to touch? Your flesh. You feel with your flesh. So which world is the first world? The flesh world, the flesh mind. Jacob is the world that follows it, the spiritual world, the spiritual mind. And these worlds are at war. And one is stronger than the other. Which one do you think is the stronger? The spiritual or the physical? You see? So there's a father that's spiritual. You see it? But if you're carnally minded, then you cannot see him. You can't see him. You must be converted. You must be born again, as Yahushua said. You see, the one who reveals the Father to you, which is what you're searching for, which is ultimately what, little flock? Love. But like I said, you don't know what love is when you're in the fallen world, because you've been taught by a woman who listens to Satan. I'm going to keep saying that, because isn't that what happened? Isn't that called the fall? So guess what all the men are doing in that world that I just described to you? They're listening to who? The woman. So then you're living in a feeling-based world. People that are in their feelings about everything. And what did I tell you about the Father's love earlier? He will tell you the truth and what is right, regardless of what you feel. Now, any fathers that are listening to this message today, don't you do that with your own children. Now, there will be times when the mother will be like, oh, it's okay. Let him slide. Oh, it's okay. Just give him a chance. Just this. And the father's like, no. See what I'm saying? The difference between the mother and the father. The mother teaches feelings. She teaches you how to feel. Your father teaches you how to think. So if you don't have a father, then you don't know how to think. You only know how to feel. But guess what? Feelings ain't facts, baby. I say it all the time. But you've been feeling your whole life. So what you feel is right is what's right to you. Now look at the world you live in. There are people who don't care about the truth. They care about how they feel. You see people that argue about gender as if it's something to be argued about. But they argue over it. And they say, well, this is how I feel. So then this is what's true. Isn't that what they're saying? Or am I making this up, guys? Am I just tripping? Or is this what you guys are seeing? Is this your reality that you're living in? I feel it's this, and so it is. That's a feminine, led by Satan mindset, because that was what caused her to fall. I was deceived into thinking something was good for me when it actually wasn't. So then what does she teach her children? See, how to feel good. That's all good and everything, but you need some balance to that. And you can't feel anything unless you can think it first. Because what comes first? The thought or the feeling? Don't you get an idea and then you feel feelings associated with the idea? So then the thought comes first. So like I said earlier, if you don't have a father, then you don't know how to think right. So you have a bunch of mindless people running around, don't you? Is a word to describe the world you live in? A good word to describe it would be crazy, would you say? Or am I just being extra? Would you call the world you're living in crazy? Well, can't you understand why? Can't you understand why now that I've described the two worlds to you? It's all about feeling in this world. So when the Father is revealed to you, you have no idea. You can't recognize it, nor can you withstand it. Now, just in case you feel that's abnormal to feel that way, I want you to consider the children of Israel. And when they first met their father and how they felt, they were afraid, so afraid that they said, we can't listen to his voice anymore. You see, they were afraid at first. Now, I'll give you guys an example of this same type of fear. You take a lion, and a lion has a pride. He has an alpha female, and he has some other females there that help. and he mates with that alpha female, produces cubs. Now, in the beginning of those cubs' lives, they do not meet the alpha male. They don't meet him. They're kept away from him for a time. But as they grow and get a little bit older, then they're able to be presented to the father or the alpha male. And when the cubs come toward them, they're nervous, they're scared, they're timid and shy because of what they're looking at. They've seen their mother, but she's maneless. You understand what I'm saying? When they see the father, he has a beard, he has a big old mane around his head. Whoa, shit. Don't let him roar. That'll really freak out the cubs. But you see, they're nervous and scared at first. But guess what they don't know? That alpha male loves his cubs, and he'll fight to the death for his cubs. Many have done so. But the cub doesn't realize that at first. See what I mean about you, child? When you're first revealed to a father's love, it's intimidating at first, just like the children of Israel. And they couldn't steadfastly look at the father. See how the cub was when he came to the alpha? He couldn't even look him in the eye, looking down at the ground. He's nervous. You see? But that's his protector. That's power. And that's why you're shying down to it, because it's power that you're beholding. You see it? There is no more powerful thing than love, little flock. So when you behold love for the first time, it's very intimidating, and you can become afraid when you don't recognize it. It's new. You see it? But that's the one who loves you the most. Don't you see it, little flock? That's the one that loves you the most. That's the one that'll give his life for you, that alpha there. I know he's big, got big old paws, you're looking all nervous, but them paws to protect you. Those teeth in his mouth are to keep you safe and feed you. Not to harm you or hurt you, it's to comfort you and protect you with those weapons that you see that he has. Same thing with our shepherd, little flock. What does David say about the good shepherd's weapons? His staff and his rod. They comfort me. Can you say it about the Father's love for you, little flock? Isn't that unfamiliar to a spoiled child that only had his mother? To hear his father is going to discipline him with a rod, but he finds comfort in that discipline. Why? Because he knows the word that says, if your father loved you, he chastened you often, little flock. Of course, that's unfamiliar to a spoiled child that wasn't chastened, that was just able to feel whatever he wanted to feel, and his mother made sure that that's what he felt, that the things that he felt were good to him. You see it? But couldn't deal with your thoughts, wouldn't listen to your thoughts. Told you that she had all the thoughts and you didn't have anything worthwhile to listen to, but listen to me because I know everything. That's the attitude of the mother who is led by Satan. And it's okay for you to accept that today if them Cinderella slippers land on your mama feet. It's good that you accept that today so that you can come out of her. Remember what Yahusha said, who set you free from all bondages, when he said, who is my mother? I want you to ask that question today, little flock, so that you're not so offended by the things that I say that you think that I'm saying something to down your mother, or that I'm speaking about your mother only. I know how the Cinderella shoe launcher works, but it only lands on Cinderella feet. And if your mama happened to be a Cinderella today, it's okay for you to let it go. And it's okay for you to forgive. And it's okay for you to understand that there's no self-accountability there. So don't yearn for it and don't search for it. Search for it within yourself, because that is the right thought. And that is what your father would teach you to do. And there are times as young men, especially, that we're going to go through things, that you'll go through things that are going to be hard things to overcome without your father's love. I think back to my own youth and my first breakup that I had. The first person I sought out to talk to was my father. And all praises to Abba and his grace for me. He blessed me to be able to have that in my life, to just go home and go up to my father's room and knock on his door and say, Dad, I need to talk to you. And he came immediately to me. And many years later, when I went through a divorce, went right to my dad. And he was just as receiving as he was that day I had my first breakup. You see it? But I had that support. And I had those harsh truths told to me, despite how I felt, even though my feelings were acknowledged. And that's the kind of love that you need, especially as men today. You need to know that it's okay to acknowledge your shortcomings, because your mother taught you never to acknowledge them, but to hide them, to mask them, because that's what she did. You guys forget that we don't love in word and tongue. So forget what your mother was telling you with her mouth, but look at what she taught you with her deeds, because that's the truth of love. It's what you do for your child. And if you stand before your child and make up a false image of yourself, then your child has no choice but to learn that behavior. You see it? And like I said, you know a man that's listening to a woman. When men go behind a woman who builds up a false facade, he goes and does the same thing. And that's how you know he's led by a woman who's led by Satan. He's led by his feelings. He's more concerned with his image and how he look outwardly. He's more concerned about his flesh body than his spiritual body. But a true man careth not for the flesh, because the flesh profiteth nothing. He cares for the spirit. And so he cares for the spirit of his children. And he will not leave that greater work undone with his child. You understand it? Build you from the inside. That's what a father will do, because you come forth from your father. You come forth from your father. Your father's the husbandman who planted that seed, and it's his seed. So of course he will nurture it and cultivate it and prune it until its fullness. As the scripture says, he will train up his child in the way that he should go. He said a father who loves his child, he raised him in the best way that he knows how, Abba says in the scripture. As far as he knows, he does the best thing for his children. And even he falls short. But the desire of his heart is to do it the best way that he can. You see? So if mothers understood that and they were in proper alignment, then they would fight for that for their children. They would die to their own self. You understand what I'm saying? Listen at what the grandson is telling you today. If a mother takes a child away from the father, then is she fighting for the child or is she fighting for herself? It's a very simple answer. But what is love? What is the greatest love? If a person give up his life for the one he say he loved, that's the greatest deed of love. So then how could the mother actually show that she loves that child? How could she show it? By giving up her own self for the child's sake. So when the child says, I need to see my father, the mother doesn't think about how she feels about it. That's not dying. If you feel something, then you're not dead. But this is why the woman feels, because she is feeling. She needs her husband. But you live in a world that denies that reality. Even though it takes a man to produce a child with her, they deny that it's going to take the man to raise the child with her. This is idiocy at its finest. And it's because it's flipped upside down and it's perverted. And that's why he said, a wicked, perverse generation. You see it? Y'all are not children of love. Y'all are children of a serpent. Don't you see how it trickled down effect? What I described to you? Didn't Yahushua say that they were children, a generation of vipers? That's called snakes, y'all. So he says that you're children of your father. Did he not say that as well? So he made it clear that they were children of Satan. Well, how do you become a child of Satan? Through the woman. Because the woman listened to Satan, and now she's going to teach you what Satan told her, which is lies, deception. And what did Yahushua deal with in his day when he was talking about them same vipers? He said, y'all paint the outside. Don't women do that? Yes, they do. But men understand something in life, that painting the outside ain't going to do you no damn good. They understand that it's got to be good in order to be acceptable. Men understand that they have to take accountability when they mess up. They have to say, you know what, I was wrong. That's part of being a man. You see it? See why you need your father to teach you that? And so since the world is fatherless, guess how they act? No self-accountability. Don't you see what I'm saying? The irony of what I'm telling you? The father, I'm a father. This is how I know I would teach this. The father teaches self-accountability. Take responsibility for what you have done. And then as soon as that child goes to point his finger, the father is going to say, I don't care what this other person done. I'm asking you what you did. How do I know? Because that's what my father did to me when I was a child. See what I'm explaining to you? I'm just being honest. That's what he did. If I got into a fight with another kid and I start trying to blame the other kid, my father would stop me immediately and say, I'm more interested in what you did. Matter of fact, I'm only interested in what you've done. So why don't you tell me what you did? But, I'm not interested in but. I want to know what you did. Or I'm going to get on that but. What you want me to do? Okay, this is exactly what happened. I'm going to tell you everything now. Y'all understand, little flock? That's the reality. Your mother don't got patience for all of that. She don't care about that. She don't care. She don't half listen to you as it is because she's too self-absorbed. Because who's her daddy? Satan. What is Satan? Self-absorbed, narcissist. So then what does he teach the woman to be? Isn't that what you see? Yeah. That's why when you tell her things like, I forgive you, she starts saying with an indignant attitude, forgive me. Do you see that energy right there? That's a person that says, I've done no sin. Now, what does the Bible say an adulterous woman is? She wipes her mouth and says she done no sin. Now, I told you guys about the adulterous woman. Many people think that means a woman who cheat on her husband physically with a physical man and woman. That is what it means, but it's deeper than that. What it means is she listening to Satan. She's cheating on God. See? She's cheating on God. So she's listening to Satan. Satan is her God. So she's committing adultery on God. So now she's the one that says she ain't did no sin, even though she did do sin. Ain't that what I just described to you that the mom is going to do when you say, I forgive you? She's going to say, forgive me for what? I ain't did nothing. I've seen this and witnessed this myself too many times to deny the truth of it. Ask the woman that took the children away from the father. Ask her what she did. She's going to start telling you about what he did. That's an unrighteous woman that's led by Satan. See, because a person who lives in the truth knows the Father's name. And what's the Father's name, little flock? Flocculate on these niggas. I am. So I am causes you to be self-accountable, don't it? Because you realize you can't say things like I am honest and then be lying to people. You know that now because you know the Father's name. You're like, I'm about to take the Lord's name in vain if I lie. So then I am honest. I have to be honest now. I have to do what the word is that I said. You hear what I'm saying, little flock? I can't just be a hearer of it. I got to be a doer of what I've said. That's called self-accountable. You see it? But the woman that's led by Satan, which is the world you live in, doesn't do that. So it teaches you how to make stuff look good. So that's what you labor in. And if you listen to what a high value man is today, it's all outward appearance, things outside of his body, guys. Let's just see. Let's just see if it's about outside of him or inside. Let's see. High value man is 6 feet tall or higher. This is women's ideas. You see what I mean? The woman led by Satan. This is her idea. 6 feet tall or taller, 6 figures or more. Let's just stop right there before we go any further. Isn't that true? Before I go any further, isn't that true what I just told y'all right there? Does anything of that have to do with his character? With his inner workings? No. But what would a father teach his daughter to look for in a man? See what the hell I'm saying here? You got to be deaf to not hear what the grandson of Right Thought is teaching here at the School of Marvelous Light. It's so accurate and easy to see it because you guys are living in it, but yet y'all want to deny the truth of it? How? How? Certain things you can get away with your mother, you just can't get away with your father. It's just the way that it is. But if you don't have a father, then you're going to get away with shit. You see it? You're going to get away with things because you don't know what love is, because the woman don't know what love is. It's that simple. How can she know it? Watch how love is revealed. God, Christ, man, woman. So then let's see here. In order for God, which is love at the very top, to be revealed to man, Christ got to do it. The head of man is Christ, not the head of woman. The head of woman is man. So then if she has a husband, then the husband can teach her right thought when she has her children. So then she will teach her children the right thoughts that her husband stands on. Isn't it obvious to understand that? Isn't it? But if she's adulterous, then she won't teach her children what her husband stands for. She will take the children away from him and raise them in her real daddy's image. Won't she do it? Isn't it happening on the earth? Uh-huh. I'm seeing it happen every day. I'm seeing it happen every day. When the woman rules the house, she corrupts the children. It's just the way that it is, because you guys think it has something to do with man and woman. It doesn't. It has something to do with the order Abba set up. And then he told you what the order is. But feelings don't want to submit to that. You don't want to do anything right half the damn time. Your feelings don't want to do it. How do I know? Because the scriptures say, when I seek to do good, evil is present with me. Of course, once you know what evil is, of course. And evil is those 7 deadly sins. And that's the 7 deadly sins that are leading the woman that's teaching the children. That's why Abba said, come out of her and come back to the right school, kids, which is the school of marvelous light where the Father is. So you can get love. And y'all think it's not about love being restored. Okay, well then why did Yahushua come to reveal the Father? And the Father said, the Bible says God is love. Love comes from the Father. That's why the world is screwed. Because if the world was full of love, do you think it'd be screwed up? Of course it wouldn't be. But y'all want to put band-aids on a situation that don't require band-aids. It require a transplant. Nigga need a heart transplant, but you want to put band-aids thinking that's going to fix the issue. It ain't. I'm going to tell you the truth. It ain't going to fix it. I told y'all got to go to the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is that people are afraid of the Father's love. They don't know it. They can't recognize it because they've been raised their whole life without it. That's all that I'm saying to you. So this is why people get uncomfortable when they come and they hear me speak. You understand what I'm saying? Did I not tell you that I was raised by a mother and a father? You see what I'm saying? So that right there makes me an anomaly on the earth because most people just are not. You see? And I also was raised by a father who has God and Christ as his head. See what I'm trying to explain to you? So what did I have to learn in life? That there were things that my mother had taught me that were Satan's teachings that I didn't know until I had got older and returned to my father. And then my father gave me the right thought concerning what I had learned from my mother, which I had to forgive my mother for. Not hold it against her. Forgive her. She didn't know. You see it? That's what Christ said. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. You see, little flock? And I'm just being honest with you and telling you the truth and the reality about what you have to do. Don't hold it against those who didn't know any better. They were ignorant. They didn't know. They didn't know the Father. So if somebody doesn't know the Father, then how do you expect them to treat you? That's right. So one thing you got to expect when you come to the Father is his chastening rod. And he wields that thing not because he doesn't love you. He does it because he loves you. Because that's who he chastens often, the one that he loves. So if he hates you, what does that mean he'll do? He'll just let you go. He won't even care. He won't consider how you are. He won't consider how you feel. He doesn't care. You see it, little flock? So there's 2 worlds that you live in. There's one that you were born into and one you have to be reborn into. And that rebirth is going to cause you to have to look at that lion with that mane while you're that little cub sitting there going, like Simba. Look at Mufasa standing there. Oh my goodness, I'm scared. It's just the Father's love. He looks like that because he's a terror to your enemies. That's why he looks scary like that. You see it? But those things bring comfort to you, knowing that he got necessary tools to protect you from the enemy out there. You see it? So when you hear his big booming voice or see his stern look looking at you, don't fear, but take comfort in it, knowing that that's there because he loves you, or else he wouldn't have that look on his face. You see it, little flock? So just like when you come here to the School of Marvelous Light, and you may hear things that may make your feelings get hurt, like I told you, it's not me hurting your feelings. It's the truth not caring whether you feel good about it or not. That's what's actually happening. There are certain truths that the father is willing to tell you. He knows it's going to hurt you. Mother's not willing to hurt you sometimes with cold hard truths. See it? She's too concerned with how you feel. Your father's more concerned with how you think. And you know why? Because you feel after you think, like I said in the beginning of this video, you will feel right if you think right, is the point of what I'm saying. Y'all hear that wisdom, little flock? But you can't feel right and then think right. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. You can't feel right and then the right thoughts come. Nope. You think right, then the right feelings come. That's the way Abba set it up. You see it? Because your feelings don't know what to feel. They're ignorant. Remember I told you that? They don't know what to feel until the thoughts tell them what to feel. Think about your life and think about what you do in your day internally. And then you'll understand exactly what I'm saying to you is absolutely true. You see it? So yeah, you can feel all day, but that doesn't mean what you're feeling is the truth. You see it? And that's where the danger comes in. Believing a lie. It's very dangerous, little flock. So it'd be wise that you withstand the stern look of your father and the big booming voice of your father and accept his protection and his love, recognizing it that sometimes your feelings may be dashed, but listen to what has been said to you and run it through your filter of thought and see if it sounds right to your thought. And if it is, then bring your feelings into subjection, because now your house is getting made in order, isn't it? Your feelings are no longer leading. Now your thoughts are proving that they're leading. Okay, I understand this makes you feel upset. You want to cuss at the screen when grandson said that to you. But the grandson was right. That's your father. Grandson was right, though. So take some accountability. Don't be mad at him. He's just telling the truth so that you can grow. So take the whooping. Understand that it was your father's love. Don't hold it against him. Sulaiman Bismillah.